Imagine being a legend, a star lighting up the screens and capturing millions of hearts, only to step out of the limelight at the height of your fame. Meet Pam Dawber, a name that might not ring a bell today, but in the late 70s and 80s, she was the talk of the town. With hit shows like Mork and Mindy and My Sister Sam, she was a face you couldn't ignore. Yet, she chose a different path, a path that led her away from the public eye, shrouding her story in mystery. Why would someone with the world at her feet decide to step back? What was the hidden cost of fame that led her to retreat? Stick around as we delve into the captivating story of Pam Dawber, a legend you probably didn't know. Detroit, make some noise. Pam may have fit right into the Hollywood scene, but don't let that fool you. She's a good old Midwestern girl that wandered 2,000 miles away from home to chase her wildest dreams. This legendary actress was born on the 18th of October, 1951 in Detroit, Michigan to Eugene and Thelma Dawber, and was raised in the area, attending Reed Elementary School in Goodrich before joining North Farmington High School. If you think about it, she was probably a normal girl going about life with no idea she would be on TV someday. Thumbs up to the guy who took her to prom, right? How did she end up all the way in LA, you ask? Well, Detroit is no small town, but you gotta admit, it's not bustling with opportunities for a career in entertainment. At least it wasn't in the 70s. If that took you by surprise, then stay tuned for some more interesting facts. Another moment for college dropouts it is. Why does it seem like everybody that ditches the standard, goes to college, and then heads on to find a good job is crashing it? Steve Jobs, Alicia Keys, Mark Zuckerberg, heck, even Bill Gates. And now, apparently Pam Dawber too. Are the rest of us missing something? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they had plans down before actually dropping out. Well, at least Pam did. She was happily pursuing a course at Oakland Community College with plans to transfer to a 4-year college while at the same time doing modeling on the side to earn some extra cash. When her modeling career began to take off, she decided to defer for a while. And from the look of things, she never really went back. Well, with good reason. She was probably earning more as a model than she would ever earn at a regular 9-5. Hey, that sounds like a good idea in theory, but stay in school, kids. Until, of course, you have a successful venture going. There seems to be a formula to this dropping out thing. In fact, stick around to find out how this legend went from a college dropout to one of the most recognizable TV faces of the 70s and 80s. Did the world potentially miss out on a supermodel? The supermodel era remains unmatched to date, but did the world miss out on a supermodel with Pam? When her modeling career began to take off, Pam quickly moved to New York to work under Wilhelmina Models and was killing it at her shoots. She was a new face, with the typical all-American girl look, in a career that was just beginning to boom. I mean, if you're going to replace mannequins for live models, it makes sense that you'd pick some of the most appealing faces to represent your brand. And Pam was exactly that. Amidst the glitz and glamour of modeling, Pam became more ambitious and decided to try her hand at acting. Naturally, she started small with appearances on TV commercials and eventually found auditioning for ABC execs. If you ask me, she may have left the fashion industry a little too soon because by the 80s, models were beginning to garner as much attention as celebrities. Do you think she was supermodel material? Let us know in the comments and keep watching to find out whether acting suited her better. The miss before the hit. Ever heard of the show Tabitha? No? Well, most people haven't. Tabitha was a 70s sitcom that was created as a spin-off of the popular show Bewitched. However, like most spin-offs, it fizzled out as quickly as it started. Isn't it time Hollywood read the room and hang it up on the spin-offs? They've been flopping for 50 years now, and somehow someone is still approving them. Fortunately for Pam, while she auditioned for the role, it eventually went to Lisa Hartman. Why haven't you heard of her? Well, having a lead role in a show that tanks can really slow down your career. As a stroke of luck, Pam's audition put her on the radar, and she was enrolled in the talent development program at ABC. I guess a paycheck and a promise of future opportunities are good enough consolation for a missed role, don't you think? Turns out that may not have been the only miss. We have more on that in this video. Imagine being a legend, a star lighting up the screens and capturing millions of hearts, only to step out of the limelight at the height of your fame. Meet Pam Dawber, a name that might not ring a bell today, but in the late 70s and 80s, she was the talk of the town. With hit shows like Mork and Mindy and My Sister Sam, she was a face you couldn't ignore. Yet, she chose a different path, a path that led her away from the public eye, shrouding her story in mystery. Why would someone with the world at her feet decide to step back? What was the hidden cost of fame that led her to retreat? Stick around as we delve into the captivating story of Pam Dawber, a legend you probably didn't know. A first that never was. Everyone knows Pam from her breakout role as Mindy McConnell on Mork and Mindy. However, did you know that this wasn't her first lead role? While still trying to navigate her way into an acting career, Pam had secured a role on the pilot of the potential series Sister Terry. The show was set to follow the life of a reformed gangster turned nun who dedicated her time to inspiring her students while raising her younger sister. Unfortunately, even in her new life, the protagonist still found herself in the middle of a gang rivalry. Solid plotline, if you ask me. A reformed gangster to terrorize the kids into the straight and narrow path. The parents must have loved her. Nothing better than a reformed gangster teaching your kids, right? Unfortunately, the show was never picked up. However, this pilot episode might have been the breakthrough her career needed. Yup, we're circling back to the pilot in a few, so stick around. Turns out it wasn't just a waste of time. The pilot episode that launched a career. Think about it, you're an upcoming actress with no real experience, and your only chance at a lead role just got shut down by the execs. Sucks, right? Well, you're wallowing in your missed opportunity and your agent calls you to tell you got the role. What role? Well, the one you didn't audition for, duh. You start on Monday. Must be nice to be lucky. And yet, this is exactly what happened with Pam. The show Sister Terry may have been a bust, however. The Gary Marshalls had watched the episode and decided he would cast Pam should an opportunity present itself. And it did, sooner than expected actually, because after bringing in an alien appearance on his hit show, Happy Days boosted the ratings. He quickly combined her scenes from the ditched pilot episodes with a few from his show and pitched a pilot for the show Mork and Mindy, entitled Maybe. Being a newbie in the game isn't easy, and landing a role without having to compete against hundreds of other aspiring actors is something you expect to hear from Bruce Willis or Angelina Jolie. And yet, when presented with this unique opportunity, she was mad. Apparently, she thought the script was stupid and was even more confused as to who the hell Robin Williams was. Yup, the Robin Williams. Well, okay. In her defense, he was pretty new in the game too, but so was she. Pam was invited to meet Gary Marshalls to discuss the role, and honestly, what else could he do? He had promised a show, and now the lead actress the show depended on wasn't quite into it. Fortunately, after watching Robin's portrayal of Mork on Happy Days, she was sold. Thank heavens for that, because if we're being honest, Mork and Mindy did give the world the legendary Robin Williams. You're probably wondering how she fared as an actress after being a bit difficult to secure. Well, you don't have to wait much longer. Trouble on set. After all the trouble it took to get her on board, you would expect a stellar performance on set, right? Unfortunately, that's not quite how it went. Turns out, Pam wasn't very experienced with staying in character, and often broke character when Williams delivered his funnier punchlines. In her defense, Williams was a force to be reckoned with, but still, I couldn't help but feel underwhelmed by that. Fortunately, Pam used the show as a learning experience and got better with time. In fact, in its first season, the show was the number 3 show on Nielsen's rating. If that wasn't enough of a setback to start, the execs began pushing to sexualize her character to boost the numbers. Looks like not too much has changed over the last 50 years. Fortunately, she was able to push back with the help of Williams, and all I have to say is good for her. Mork and Mindy was eventually canceled after 4 seasons, and you can't help but wonder what she did next. Was she a one-hit wonder? Did she actually launch a career off this show? Hollywood Reign. After Pam appeared on Mork and Mindy, she became quite popular within the scene, and if we're keeping it real, she was the 70s celebrity crush for many. Can you really blame them? She was a hit, and Hollywood wasn't letting her go anytime soon. Her next role was a voiceover for the animation series Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, Fawn's Hour. The series combined popular characters from hit ABC sitcoms, and as expected, she voiced Mindy. Talk about a character you can't shake off. When she finally did shake off the Mindy hype, she secured roles in the films: A Wedding, Swan Lake, Wild Horses, and The Face of Fears. You get it. She was all over your screens. 4 years after the Mork and Mindy hype had died down, she secured another title role in the show My Sister Sam, alongside Rebecca Schieffer. The show was a huge hit in its first season, but plummeted in its second season after it was moved to Saturday night. That's definitely on the execs. It's a good thing you get paid for the episode filmed over there. As a huge Pam Dawber fan, you've probably checked out her entire portfolio, so let's quickly get back to some of the more exciting stuff. Jack of all trades, present-day Hollywood must be a complete mystery and straight-up joke to the older generation because, from the look of things, you needed to do it all to have a shot in the game back then. Pam was no exception, and when she wasn't on set filming shows, she entertained live audiences in the theaters and, well, it was always a performance worth watching. I could go on and on about her professional career, but hey, don't you want to know more about her personal life and work outside of Hollywood? Well, I do. Who's the lucky guy? Ever seen a couple and thought, looks like they both got lucky? Well, here's your chance. Pam Dawber is married to, drumrolls, Mark Harmon. Sound familiar? It should. Think Leroy Gibb. A match made in heaven, right? Pam and Mark met at the height of their careers and have been married since March of 1987. That's a Hollywood record for sure. Want to know how they did it? It's pretty simple, actually. They've kept their private lives away from the media and the public in general. Pretty solid advice right there. Social media couples should probably take it. But how did two celebrities at the height of their careers keep the media at bay? Here's how. Early retirement. You're not going to like this, but one of the easiest ways to keep the media from exploiting your relationship is by simply stepping away from the spotlight, which is the exact route Pam took. After having children, Pam was over the entertainment industry, and she wanted to be a regular soccer mom that drives her kids to school and makes cookies for school sales. Can you imagine dropping your kids off at school and meeting one of your favorite actresses? Must be great to live in LA. Pam jumped right into the homemaker role and hasn't looked back. I'm sure a hefty sum in her bank account from her time working made the decision easier. I wouldn't think twice about quitting too if I had enough money to last me a lifetime. So what has Pam been up to since she hung her boots in Hollywood? You'd be surprised to find out. Pam is a gun control advocate. Who would have thought that the all-American girl on TV would end up in Congress calling for saner gun control laws? Well, not me for sure. Pam was forced to make a stance on gun control laws when her friend and co-star, Rebecca Schieffer, on the show My Sister Sam, was shot by a stalker at her Los Angeles home. This tragedy also unearthed a flaw in the Department of Motor Vehicles that made it easy for a stalker to find and kill Rebecca. While Pam was able to find justice for her friend and inspire a new law to protect the privacy of other motorists' addresses, the trauma of what happened to her friend never left her. In fact, it was part of the reason she decided to step back from the limelight. Moving on to a much lighter note. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. Pam may have left the spotlight, but that doesn't mean her impact on the world ended with her retirement. She instead took to more social causes and became a spokesperson for Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. If you're looking to change the world, then Pam could be an inspiration to realize that even efforts made on a small scale away from the public eye make a difference. From the look of things, the retired actress was thriving in her home life and philanthropic causes. So what prompted her to return to the screens? A final reunion. After more than a decade of not gracing the screens, Pam made a comeback on an episode of Robin Williams' show The Crazy Ones, as a way to give the audience one of the most awaited TV romance reunions. The two friends had not seen each other in 20 years, and the episode must have evoked as much nostalgia in the actors as it did the audience. Unfortunately, this friendship reunion did not last long as Robin Williams took his own life a few months later. To date, Pam maintains that she returned for her friend, and it's great that they got to see each other again. New Hollywood beginnings. Mark Harmon has played the lead role in the show NCIS for close to 18 years, and at first fans were excited for him to partner with his wife on the show. After over a decade of waiting, it finally happened. Did you notice, or were you completely oblivious to Marcy Warren's identity? Don't worry, no blame on my part. It's been over a decade since Pam graced our screens and she's changed a lot. You're free to go and rewatch her appearance and see if you can spot the resemblance to her younger self. So, why did it take more than a decade to get her on board? Well, life for one. And secondly, the writers just couldn't find a script exciting enough for her. As a rule of thumb, she had no interest in playing Gibbs' love interest. Pretty sassy. Well, why play pretend when she's already his love interest in real life? Good thing the writers finally found something for her. Would you like to see her again? I sure would. I'm not so sure about her wanting to come back, as apparently she hasn't watched the DVDs with her appearance because she doesn't want to keep pointing out how old she looks. I personally think she looks stunning for her age. Actually, how old do you think Pam Dawber is? Talking of age, can you believe Pam Dawber is 71? She definitely looks great for her age, and you've got to wonder what the secret is. I mean, Sandra Bullock did try to tell us, but is it really? If you grew up watching Pam on Mork and Mindy, that would put you in your mid-40s to 50s. Wow, doesn't time fly? If you're just now finding out about Pam Dawber, then it's not too late for you. I'm sure with a little digging through the internet, you can find some DVDs of her work and a player. Well, I mean, maybe once you've finished all the shows you're watching on 3 different streaming platforms. Nonetheless, being able to work and remain relevant in your 70s is a flex most of us should aim for in our respective career paths. Talking of careers, here's one for the books. Gary Marshall's impact on Dawber's career. Gary Marshall was one of the most revered screenwriters and film directors of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and throughout his career, he launched a lot of new talent like Julia Roberts and the one-of-a-kind comedy star Robin Williams, who eventually took off in the industry. Pam was no exception, as Gary saw her raw talent and nurtured it by giving her an opportunity on his hit show, Mork and Mindy. Dawber has spoken highly of Gary and credits his belief in her despite her lack of experience for her takeoff in the game. After he died, Pam joined a few other actors on a tribute episode on the show The Odd Couple. At this point, I'm convinced Dawber is a sweetheart to be around. She literally got along with all her colleagues. I bet anyone would look forward to lunch breaks with her at the office, a career that never was. We all know celebrities for the careers they eventually ventured into, but have you ever wondered what paths they would have taken otherwise? Dawber's talent in the arts came from a lot of hard work, and it didn't hurt that she grew up with the inspiration of a fellow artist in the form of her dad. As a matter of fact, Dawber initially intended to follow in her father's footsteps and pursue a career as a commercial artist before finding her way to her true calling. At the end of the day, we're glad she finally found her way of expressing and sharing her art with the world, even if it was a short career. I bet the conversation about dropping out of school must have sucked, but seeing how Dawber has passed up roles because her parents were coming into town goes to show that they did eventually wrap their heads around the news. Maybe actually being successful at her side venture had a lot to do with that. With all the support she's received from her family, it only makes sense that she'd offer the same for her children, a family of entertainers. Is it a surprise that both Sean and Ty have taken an interest in the entertainment industry? Not so much. How could they not? Their parents quite literally ran the game. Despite this, Sean and Ty had the luxury of growing up in a normal home away from the spotlight, unlike most celebrity kids, and have had the chance to define their paths. Seriously, we should all give a round of applause for the few sane parents in Hollywood that do not plaster their children on magazines and social media. Sean is an actor and director, and has played the young Gibbs on the show NCIS. When he's not the main focus of the camera, he also doubles down as a stuntman. Ty, on the other hand, took a much safer career behind the scenes as a screenwriter, and both the young men seem to be flourishing in their specific endeavors. The secret to healthy and happy kids? Parents who are interested in what they are doing. Take it from Pam herself. A look into a celebrity wife. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to be a famous wife? Most of us imagine it is a relaxed life living in a castle with hired left and only perfect family moments. Apparently not Pam. Despite being an actress and probably the all-American girl everybody had the hots for in the 70s, Dawber embraces being a traditional Midwestern wife. When she was working full-time, she felt she didn't have enough time to cater to her family, and when she couldn't keep up, she simply gave up the fame. According to her, having Mark as a dad would be iconic enough and she would simply be a mom. She really is the whole package. I know you hear the modern-day feminists shrieking in the back, but they can always sit this one out. Which Pam Dawber facts caught your attention? Let us know in the comment and check out the next video in this series.